Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ignite. Today, I am here with Lynsey Harley, founder of Modern Standard Coffee. Lynsey, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Lynsey, it's so great to have you, and I'm so excited to hear your story. Can you just start by telling us a little bit about your business?
Sure. So we are a coffee business. So we started as a coffee roasting business. So we basically source coffee from Central South America, East Africa, so countries like Brazil, Colombia, Kenya, and I obviously get to go visit those countries, which is brilliant fun. And then we import the coffee to our roastery in Fife. We roast it, put it into bags, like some of the ones you can see behind me here on the shelf, and we send it to our customers. We also have a cafe in Edinburgh where we actually make the beans into drinks and we sell it to dog walkers, uni students, a whole vast kind of network of people. But that's basically what we do. So, yeah.
What a fun business. So, how did you get here? Where did it all start? Where are you from, and where did you go to school?
So I am from Glenrothes in Fife and I went to Auchmuty High School and then I went to uni actually in Edinburgh. And then my passion for coffee kind of started at uni because at the time it was like the kind of cool thing to do is go hang out with your friends and have coffee. And I became a barista, never really thinking that my degree would lead me to owning a coffee business, but it did. But yeah, I went to uni. I actually went to study dentistry initially. So I did 2 years of dentistry at Newcastle. I got good grades, and basically I got into uni by the dental panel were like, why would you be a good dentist? And I was like, I've got really small hands, which I do, and I could like, get into like a person's mouth without much issue, which I also thought was quite funny. So that got me in the door, and I was there for 2 years. I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't for me. I think when I was like fifth, sixth year at school, it seemed exciting, but it just didn't really vibe with me that much. And after 2 years, I was like, I'm not enjoying it, so I quit. Came back to Edinburgh and studied maths, and I thought it was much more head for numbers, which is maybe helpful having a business. Moved to London, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Took a grad job like everybody else did, but again, I didn't enjoy it. And I think what I've learned in life is if you enjoy something, you give it more. You kind of, you're more passionate about it. So I decided to get a job in a coffee shop until I figured out what I was going to do. And clearly, I haven't really ever figured that out because I'm sort of stuck in coffee. So I worked for a couple of different companies, worked my way up from like being a coffee trainer. So my job initially with my first coffee company was going in and showing people how to make coffee. Then I became a buyer, which was the person in charge of buying the raw material, which enabled me to travel. And that was just amazing. I was 25, 26, and I was traveling to like Brazil and like Honduras, and I was buying coffee from coffee farmers. So I got the benefit of travel and I had a lot of responsibility, but it just basically ignited my passion for people and coffee and all the sort of little avenues that opened up. And then after a couple of years, I was like, kind of wanted to do something more. And I thought maybe my own business, because at the time there was no company that I really wanted to work for. So it kind of dawned on me that maybe I should maybe just make my own, which is a little bit brave. And then I got going. So that was 2015 was when I launched the business.
Fantastic. And so when you kind of were working for the coffee company, in those early years, or even before that, like when you were in high school and uni, etc., had being an entrepreneur ever been something you'd wanted to do, or did it just dawn on you later on?
Um, it was never presented as an option. I mean, being an entrepreneur is basically seeing an opportunity, and that can be in any view. So if it's like in the summer holidays, like going around cutting people's grass or washing cars, like I think if people understand that being an entrepreneur can come in many different guises, then I think people will be more open to exploring that as a career because you don't have to work in a job, you can be your own boss, but just need to understand the fundamentals of being organized, be nice to people and delivering on what you say you'll deliver, because that's ultimately what people are buying into. But I wish it was something that they would encourage more at school, but I've just been lucky and managed to figure it out for myself. So
Fantastic. One of the things that strikes me about the story that you were just telling is kind of there are these moments where you made big decisions and actually quite brave decisions. And so can you talk me through a couple of those moments?
May not been brave, may have been stupid, but like we can debate that some other time. Um, I think with the dental degree, like I changed course because I wasn't overly bothered about being a dentist. I think initially I was drawn to it because I don't know if people are different now, but you look at the salary expectations of jobs, and at the top is actuarist, which is one of these of people that predict pensions, and they get paid lots of money. And under that's all other jobs. So I basically picked the top five. So I was very motivated by money, which you are when you're young. Like let's not beat about the bush. That's one of the things that people want because you don't have it as a child, do you? And then I realised quite quickly that that's not the be all and end all. So I think I changed from wanting to be a dentist to not when I realised that there was more things in life than just money. Moving to London was definitely a big thing because the opportunity is bigger, bigger city, but also bigger risk and bigger reward. I knew that I was hardworking, and I think that's half the battle. I'm not scared of a challenge, which also helps. And I'm quite good at getting on with people. So I think those little characteristics, I kind of knew that I was going to probably be okay. But it's good to try things. And if you fail, then you've learned something. It's never a failure. It's always a learning experience.
And that's, I think, until you fail a few times, that doesn't feel like it's true, right? Because the
Hmm.
idea of
Yeah.
failing feels so scary. And then you actually
Hmm.
do fail and you're like, you know what? I survived that and I'm okay, actually, and everything's fine. And so sometimes you just have to do it in order to realize that it's not the end of the world, and often it can put you in a better place and a really exciting place like where you are now. So
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about the business. So you said that you've been working in coffee, you got to the point and you said, oh wait, I can do this for myself. What were the steps you took? How did it go from being a kind of, okay, this is what I want to do to something real? What did that early journey look like?
So I had the idea for the business, and initially it was going to start quite small, like in my father-in-law's garage, though I didn't ever tell him that I was planning on using his garage. But in my head, that was the size. And then I met a few people who sort of persuaded me to start a little bit bigger, but that required more money. So I had to basically go out and convince people that I had a business idea. So I had to write like we would a deck, but a presentation explaining like the idea of the business, a little bit about me, who our target customers were, how we're going to basically make money and sell that to investors. So I had to go and find investors, and I was like, where do you find them? Like, there's not like a shop or like a website. Well, there is, but like, you know, it just seems a bit daunting. So I sort of met different people and sort of pitched them the idea, and they invested, which was a bit crazy because they parted with their money. So yeah, I managed to convince six people to invest £200,000, which is not an insignificant sum of money. I'm aware of that, and I got going. So like I rented a warehouse, I bought equipment. Like looking back, I don't know what I was thinking. I was like 29, I was young and naive and overly confident, and clearly able to sell because it's a dream you're selling, isn't it?
What was the dream? What was the dream? What were you selling? What was to make Modern Standard Coffee different and better? Because obviously there's a lot of coffee companies out
Of
there.
course,
What
of
what
course.
was unique about it, and why do you think people bought into that dream?
So like at the time, specialty coffee, which is like slightly better quality coffee, was seen as quite exclusive, and my plan was to make it more accessible and to not make it like so much of a leap from like everyday coffee. I was really just trying to like bring people on a journey, and I just maybe I'm more convincing than I think I am, but I think at the end of the day, the idea was like make coffee accessible, make it fun, not make it exclusive, broaden the market, um, and that was basically what I sold to these investors, and they liked it. Some of them had worked in coffee, so they were aware of the market. Some of them hadn't, so they were just like, love the idea. Um, yeah, and they just I think they bought into me though, because as much as you think it's the idea, ultimately is the person. So I think what they saw was maybe somebody who was yeah going to give it a go, and they wanted to back it, and they've done well. Like they've been bought out since. They've made more money than they invested, so they think I walk on water. They enjoyed the journey, but yeah, it's definitely been a journey.
Fantastic. What a good story. And I think your point about people is so important, right? At the end
Mm,
of the day, that is what people are
yeah.
investing in the founder and the
Hmm.
story and the passion you have from it. And you had worked in the industry for a while, so you knew the market, you knew where the gap was, you knew what it looked like. So you went off and you made this massive investment in terms of warehouses and all of this kind of stuff. Tell me about the first sale. How did that happen?
Again, it was people, right? I did obviously did the whole standard like cold calling, knocking on doors, sending emails to people and be like, buy my coffee, like please, please. I obviously said more than that. That was the gist of it. And some people were like receptive. Some people were just like, don't know who you are, not interested. I think the first sale, I don't think who it was to. I think it was Five Guys, which is a strange one. Like most people will know Five Guys. Yeah, we sold them some coffee because they were making like coffee milkshakes. So they took our coffee and they made a concentrate from the espresso and they made it into milkshake. So I think my first invoice, I can go back and check. I should really check. I should know this, shouldn't I? This is good knowledge. I think it was to Five Guys. And they're still a customer now, which is crazy to think that 10 years on we're still working together. I do get the occasional voucher to get like a free burger and fries, which is like super welcomed from any customer.
Amazing. And is most of your business today to other businesses or is it direct to consumers?
A bit of both. So we have mainly to other customers. So we have a bunch of bakeries that buy our coffee, restaurants, hotels, offices. Yeah, we supply a lot of businesses that then take our beans and turn it into drinks. But we do a lot online to customers at home. So we have like direct to consumer. And then we obviously have our cafe in Edinburgh, so people can interact with the business there.
And when did you open the cafe? Because that's kind of quite a little
Yeah.
shift actually.
So I started the roastery down in London, and then after 5 years, we had to expand. Like we were so successful, so busy, we had way more space, and we really, really struggled to find it what we needed in London. And my mum had this idea of like, why don't you like relocate the roastery back to Fife? I was like, why would I do that? You know, in my head it seemed so far. And then I looked at the cost of warehousing, which is again in a business an important thing. You must look at your costs. It was significantly cheaper. But then not only that, the other driver was the staff that were working for me who were going to move could all buy a house, which for like staff stability and happiness and all of that is like super important. So I floated the idea amongst the staff that we were going to keep, and they're all for it. So we relocated the roastery. But the strange thing is, and this goes back to selling mentality, we couldn't sell our coffee to Scottish customers when we were located in London. Like they saw us as English. They were like, "Oh, you're English," and I'm like, "But I'm not. I'm Scottish. You know, I've got red hair, got the accent. My favorite colour's blue. Like, I'm pretty Scottish. I even like represented Scotland in two different sports. I feel like I've done my part for the country. But no, they wouldn't they wouldn't buy our coffee. So when we relocated the roastery to Fife, we had like customers picking the phone up, being like, "Oh, we'll buy your coffee now." So we relocated the roastery in December 2019, which was we just got in just before the pandemic. But then nobody knew who we were up here because we were about to launch this big like marketing campaign and PR stuff to kind of announce that we were here. But then the whole world went into lockdown and nobody wanted to know. So we thought, well, we open a coffee shop, then people will have to know us. So we opened that in December 2020. So it's been, was that 4 years?
Talk about brave. That was a brave time to open
Yeah, I would
premises.
say. Yeah. Again, brave or stupid, we can have this debate, but very much, yeah, it was good. It's been great. Like, it's been nice for us to like introduce ourselves. We've got a really nice team of people that work there. It's in the part of Edinburgh that I used to live when I was at uni. So it's like kind of nostalgic.
Absolutely. And I know there's probably so many of them, and you just kind of touched on a few of them, but what's one big win that you've had that you're really proud of?
We have this customer in Fife called Fisher Donaldson who've been going for 100 years. And as a child, as a treat, would get their fudge donuts, which are like, if you're from Fife, you know they're super delish. And they were on like our list of, we want to work with them. Like we had a list of customers that we really wanted to work with when we relocated. And so once we landed them and started working with them last year, it was like it was a great moment to feel like we had a plan, it was executed, they've got great reputation, it's been working really well. So yeah, I think that's one customer that I'm most proud of, like winning.
So, so if anyone goes and has the donuts and has a cup of coffee with them, it's your coffee they're having.
It is indeed, yes.
Great. Okay. And what if you were talking to a potential entrepreneur who's, in high school right now, what kind of skills would you recommend that they try to develop, and how might they do that at that stage of their lives?
I think a simple one would be, I think, financial. So it's a case of if you were to say buy ingredients to make, say, like a batch of cakes, and you costed how much flour, how many eggs, how much sugar, butter, you wrote it all down. You came to like a total of, let's say, £12, and you made 12 muffins or 12 cakes or whatever. So each cost you £1 to make. Then you need to remember how long did it take you to make them. So you need to add in your labour, because that a lot of people think if I buy it for £1 and sell it for £2, that's how much money I make. A lot of people forget that actually things take time. So you have to think, well, it took me an hour. Well, what do you want to earn an hour? Well, the national minimum wage right now I think is £12, I think, an hour. So you would take that £12 again, divide it by 12, because you're making 12 cakes, that's £1. So really your cost of goods and cost of like production of those cakes is £2. So if you sell it for £4, you've made a 50% margin. So a lot of it is just trying to understand that math is like the main thing. And then once you've got that down, because businesses have to be profitable to be sustainable, I think the rest of it is hard work and networking. Again, the more people you know, the more people you can sell to. So I think those are, for me, the three things that really make good entrepreneurs stand out from bad entrepreneurs.
Such a good point, because I think people would think, oh, well, I want to go into business because I love baking, I love making cakes, but they forget that actually they have to understand, you can't keep doing it unless you're making money doing it, right? It just won't survive as much as you love it. The love alone isn't going to drive it through. You need to be able to make money. What would you say to
Exactly.
someone who loves to bake cakes and sort of says, you know what, I wasn't very good at maths in school, unlike you who studied maths? Do you need to be a mathematician in order to make it work?
Gosh, no, no, absolutely not. No. But I think you definitely have to appreciate the numbers. So I think you're right. I think I happen to enjoy maths. Like numbers is my thing. Like I like a good spreadsheet. Like I don't get me wrong, Microsoft Excel and me are like best buds. Um, so I think it doesn't need to be like, advanced maths, just needs to be pretty simple. But you just need to make sure that what you sell for is more than what it costs. And that's a very simple sort of equation to put together. Um, and it's a good way of understanding as well about how often you get paid. Do you give people the ability to pay you later on? So we call that credit terms. So like I give you an item, I give you 30 days to pay me, but I need you to pay me in 30 days because I have to pay somebody else after I've taken the product from them. So it's like about managing the balance. So there's a lot of things to take into account, but unfortunately, when it comes to business, money is the biggest driver. And so money is numbers ultimately. So
And you can learn all this though, right? I mean, there are people out there that will help you.
absolutely.
There's support out there. So don't let it deter you, but just know that you have to
No,
think about it, because otherwise the business won't be sustainable.
exactly. And I think start small. Like you don't need to start like with big numbers. My very first coffee business was a little coffee stall at a friend of mine called Neil, and we would like turn up and just be me and him, and we'd make like 100 coffees a day. Only on a Saturday, we'd start at like 8 in the morning and we'd stop once we sold 100. That was kind of like what we wanted to sell to make the whole thing again viable. And then, yeah, now I've got a business that does, of course, I don't know how many cups of coffee we sell a day. We do like 12, 1,300 kilos of coffee a day. Each one of those kilos produces between 50 and 100 cups of coffee. Yeah, hundreds of thousands of coffees a day. So I started with doing like 100, now we're doing like 100,000. So it's, you learn, you sort of test it on a small basis, and then you think, okay, this works. And you kind of go a bit bigger, and you go, okay, this works. And you kind of, your appetite for volume and growth starts to get a bit pushed. But start small, and then that way you can learn the mistakes, and they won't be too bad.
Is there anything else that you wish you knew then that you know now?
Gosh, yeah, lots. And I think one thing I think I wish I was better at was not being so hard on myself. I think that's one thing that I've always suffered. I'm my biggest critic. So I think, yeah, people need to learn to be a little bit kinder and allow themselves to make mistakes because no one's perfect. You're not born knowing everything. You don't wake up every day knowing everything that's going to happen and how to deal with it. And you'll ultimately make mistakes, but that's how you learn. I've made some massive mistakes that have cost me not just with money but with other things, and all I try and do is not make the same mistake twice. So I think you've got to push yourself out your comfort zone. You're not going to learn anything by staying inside two lines. It can be little steps. It doesn't have to be like a massive leap. But I think if you just try and do something a little bit outside your comfort zone every day, then your comfort zone starts to get quite, it starts to really push. You become more rounded as a person, better skills, better experience. I think just be brave and always ask for help, because no one's ever going to turn around and say no. One thing, never be shy to ask. So.
Such a common theme. My last question, I'm just curious. You started off our conversation talking about the incredible travel you've been able to do through the business.
Oh,
Where is the
yes.
most interesting place that you've gone?
Oh, my favorite country to visit is Guatemala, which is a little country in between Colombia and like United States and a little strip called Central America. I love it for many reasons. Often when I go, it's cold here, but hot there, so that's nice. The food's amazing, the culture's amazing, the people are really kind and happy, so I like visiting it. And there's so much history to that part of the world. A lot of like Mayan ruins and some really interesting like kind of like places to visit. So I like Guatemala a lot.
Incredible. Lynsey, it's been so fun to talk to you. I
Thank you.
thank you so much, and I really appreciate everything that you've shared with us today. Good luck.
Thank you very much.